Should you buy Assassin's Creed Origins in 2021? Assassin's Creed Origins is sort of a soft reboot of the franchise, changing pretty much everything including gameplay design, level design and narrative structure to try and offer a fresh new experience for the franchise. But is Assassin's Creed Origins worth playing in 2021 when compared to other games in its genre today? Leave your comments down below if you like or don't like the new changes to the franchise. We'll be talking narrative and gameplay with minimal spoilers, so let's start with a bit of narrative.
Soldiers!
Rabia! My Rabia!
I have worried about you.
You know me, eh? You should be worried.
Look at you. Cuts? Contusions?
I'm fine.
Sit.
We follow a new protagonist known as Bayek, and someone called Aya who plays a lesser role in the story, and I think we all know why. Bayek is actually a really great character and was written with care. He doesn't make dumb decisions to push the plot forward and is incredibly down to earth and very rarely over dramatic, and it really works for the story that's being told here. Unfortunately, the opening hours don't really give too much depth to him because of the way the narrative has been structured, offering little flashbacks to really piece together what kind of man Bayek is and what caused him to go down the path he's currently on. Aya is very similar but gets nowhere near the same amount of screen time Bayek gets, and it's obvious why, but I'm not going to go into Ubisoft's current studio culture, but for the time we do get with Aya, she is just as compelling as Bayek, and in some cases even more compelling, which really helps solidify the quality of story here. But once again, the way the story is structured does not help the pacing. As great as these characters are, the pacing of this game, or at least how the main story missions are played, really does not work for an engaging story. You'll find yourself trying to remember what's happened and where the story is actually going as characters are introduced and then removed quickly, and the ones that do stick around are historical figures who you know aren't going to die or stick to what they say, so it does harm the narrative slightly. But while we are on the topic of pacing, let's talk gameplay. If you're enjoying this video, smash that like button, I'd really appreciate it.
Up and defend your homes! Show them the teeth of justice! Look straight into the storm!
Gameplay has been completely overhauled when compared to older games like the Ezio trilogy and the Kenway saga, as well as Unity and Syndicate. Some bits have been improved while other bits have been downgraded significantly, so let's talk about it. Assassin's Creed now follows an RPG structure to its gameplay. Levels, upgrade paths, customization and enemy scaling is the best way to sum up what you will be doing. Each section of the map have different levels associated with them, so you have to level up to tackle them, which is a massive departure to the open world design Ubisoft previously used. This adds a lot of gameplay time but not necessarily value. You'll find yourself doing side quest after side quest to unlock new weapons and most importantly level up, as really it's your level that matters most in Assassin's Creed Origins. Now when I look at the Ubisoft game design of today, I started replaying Origins with a bit of fear, as I know Ubisoft love to manipulate you into getting bored and buying microtransactions so you don't spend 10 hours leveling up once, and I'm happy to say that is simply not the case here. Each side quest and main quest gives you enough XP every time so you don't feel like you need to play 100 quests just to level up once, and thank God that's the case, or I would have never been in the game again. There's a decent variety of weapons with additional effects like poison, bleeding and other status effects, which really help spice up the combat here, so you have your standard swords, ranged weapons, your bow, as well as some other little tools like fire bombs, etc. So it is pretty difficult to get bored when playing with all the different weapons, so I'm happy to say Origins doesn't get stale throughout its narrative length. Anyway, before I talk about stealth and other things, let's get back to narrative. Origins sticks to the traditional narrative, which simply means you go from location to location, assassinating targets, slowly uncovering more about the plot and how those discoveries change characters you are surrounded by, which was usually shown by the Apple of Eden corrupting people's minds, or simply two people who can't look past their views of the world and the flaws of those views, eventually leading them to fight to the death. Ubisoft sticks with that traditional kind of idea but structures it far different and goes a different route with the kind of consequences Bayek and Aya face for discovering the things they do. Now, was it done well? Well, as I mentioned, the pacing really takes a hit due to how they structured the game. The middle section of the game is literally hunting down 4 targets in a separate area, learning the bare minimum of information to push the plot forward. So instead of characters making dumb decisions to push the plot forward, we simply get the plot at a much slower rate. Origins easily has some of the best cutscenes in any of the games of the franchise, as it's pretty clear they had full control and creativity, offering some of the most chilling moments, which I won't spoil, and offer some absolutely gorgeous environments for those moments to take place in. When you don't limit your creators, you know, they do their job, and they do it well. The final hours pick up significantly, telling possibly the best ending in the franchise for some, but that's still held by Revelations for me, so overall I do think the story could have been better, mainly due to its structure, but then again, it may be perfect storytelling for someone else out there. That's just my perspective. So, stealth is here, and well, yeah, it's Assassin's Creed stealth, there isn't much to it, and it's incredibly basic. You hide in a bush and stab, hide in a haystack and stab, whistle and stab. That pretty much sums it up, and the criticisms I have with the stealth have probably been mentioned countless times. Customization here is decent. While it's not as good as Assassin's Creed Unity, it's better than nothing, and I really appreciate having different weapons and more options to take enemies out, as the traditional Assassin's Creed gameplay was getting pretty stale. The major negative for me, really, with this game is the parkour or free running. It has been massively downgraded. You don't even have to think, you don't have to point your analog stick or your keyboard or mouse, whatever, in the direction that you want to go. All you gotta do is hold W or push the analog stick forward, and everything is done for you. They even added a button that you can press to make the game play itself. That's how bad it is. So if you're looking for good parkour, which was a staple of the franchise, it's not here anymore. It's gone. There's no good parkour. The movement system is automated, basically. It's not good. That's what I'll say about that. Other than that, I've got to be honest, I do think Assassin's Creed Origins is worth buying in 2021. However, in the long run, I do think it's done more damage to the franchise than anticipated. I might make a video on Assassin's Creed Infinity, as they've called it, as it may have just killed the franchise and Origins was the first step in that process. Either way, Origins itself is a great game with a few flaws here and there, so if you just want a one-time experience, then absolutely buy Assassin's Creed Origins. Thank you for watching.